We are talking summertime smallmouth river fishing and other river fishing. All that and a bunch more on this edition of Tackle Shop Live.
Sunny day, right there you took my breath away. Young and pretty, was it just a dream? The next day you called me up, you told me
what's up, everybody? Galen Heathcote, how you doing, man? Scott Luckoff, as always, what do you say, buddy? Mike Hayer, good to see you, pal. Terry Flowers. Oliver, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you, buddy. Terry from East Tennessee, Nick. Got East Tennessee in the house.
He's here every week.
Yeah. Jack Hinkle, what's up, buddy? Mike Kiermeyer, Andy Garrett. What do you say, Andy? Kevin Carpenter, what's up, Kevin? Oh, he's floating the old Philly sticker on there, buddy. Yeah, that's good. Andre, what's up, man? Hey, I was waiting for your text. You never texted me back, bro. Something that was like going to be earth-breaking. I never got it. Anyway, Ben Kirk, how are you? St. Crest, what's up, buddy? Dale, what do you say? Athens, Ohio. Ben Kirk. All right, man. That's cool.
Right on Lake Erie, baby.
Right on Lake Erie. You betcha. Good deal. Alex Keene. I'm a mile away from your shop. All right, Alex, that's cool. You can walk to the store if it all gets bad, like a big blizzard. We're always here, so you can come over and shop all by yourself. Frank, how you doing, Frank? Kyle.
What's Frank's last name?
Bilo Brosicki. I bet you that's close.
Frank, I just knew he'd butcher that, so I thought I'd throw that out there.
Joseph Cascarino. Yeah, I know that name. Oliver, yeah, how you doing, man?
His
Yamamoto's Neds.
His mother calls him Joseph.
Are ordered, thank you. Yeah, you bet, man. That's like the big talk of the town right now is the Yamamoto's Senko's or Ned rig style bait. It's a Ned Senko, I think they're calling it, right?
Yeah, they're calling it the Ned Senko.
Ned Senko. So we're really excited about that. It's something you can really easily get behind because it's Yamamoto, and everything Yamamoto catches the heck out of fish. I don't know about you guys. But
depends who's using it.
Yeah. Look at that thing. And the cool thing is, and I think the reason why it works for everybody and why it's a big deal is it's what we know. And we know the Yamamoto colors. We know we have confidence in their colors. We have confidence in their baits. We get confidence in everything that they do. So it's going to be a really good confidence bait and something we can easily catch fish on.
Not so fast, my friend.
What?
This is the super floater formula.
Yeah.
From Yamamoto, which has been used in the Senko.
Yeah.
But only on very rare colors.
Yes.
For example, the Morning Dawn.
Yeah. Didn't they have a methylate too that they did that with?
They did.
Yeah.
They did. But they don't do either one of them anymore. The Morning Dawn was a floater. The methylate was a floater. So this is their super floater formula. Now, what I don't know is what the salt content is.
I don't think there's any salt in it.
There is absolutely no salt in this bait.
I could have told you that. I chewed one up earlier. I remember years ago, Nick, this is funnier than hell. My dad and brother, back in the very early days of the business, George did the buying, and my dad was like really hands-on with it, and I was just kind of like back in the background, just kind of fumbling around doing whatever I do, counting beans. You know how that is.
Still trying to figure it out.
And it was so embarrassing because these guys would come in, these salesmen would come in, and they would come up to Dad and George, and they were up at the, doing whatever, and they would gather around, and they would give them a bait and said, "Oh man, this is our bait. This is a great little bait. It's salt pregnated. The fish are going to hold on to it." And right away, my brother would grab a hold of one of them things, and my dad really, and they would be, ain't no damn salt in this. What are you talking about? You know, you can't be, you know, and they would just freaking flay them guys right on the spot. And it was just, that's how we got our reputation, honestly. You know, when a salesman, the word went out instantaneously to the salesman, don't mess around with those 8-cord guys because they are deadly freaking serious about their baits.
You guys are hardcore.
Oh yeah, we were dead serious about it, and we were bringing, you know what I mean. We were bringing our own level to this thing, and we were and George and Dad would call people out like you would not believe.
Now let me ask you a question.
It was funny.
Did you taste a solid color?
I did not.
Because that was a laminate. And
Yeah.
a lot of times they'll cut that salt out on them laminates.
Yeah, but I don't think there's any difference because it's a floating deal, and you don't have to chew one up. You really don't.
I want to tell you
do it
something.
anyway.
So on pre-Tackle Shop Live, we put one on a jig head,
Yeah,
and
There's no salt in this one either.
yeah,
there might not
Yeah.
be any salt in there, but that thing has action
yeah.
like no other Ned worm I've tried.
Well,
It's
You
a
know,
little
most of them-
longer, Nick.
Yeah, it's a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But I think that thing's gonna look really.
Oh, it
nice in
is.
order.
I am deadly.
good point, Nick.
Yeah.
Good point, Mike.
Yeah.
But I got a better point.
You always do, George.
Of course. The and I might be going out on a limb here, but I don't think I am. The undisputed king of all Ned baits, the TRD from Z-Man.
Yeah,
How much salt's in that?
0.
Right on. So it's not
No, you're right.
it's not
You're right.
a critical element,
Right.
but that scientific study that I did there
Well, it's just another one of
was
those.
to test because
Yeah.
Yamamoto is known for their
They are.
insane salt content.
They are.
When Strike King came out with the coffee tube, were you eating that too?
Yeah, he was making coffee out of it.
Well,
Oh,
that is
I'll
something.
find out how this damn thing is. You know, dip it in the coffee. There ain't no coffee in this.
Hey, I do this in the name of science.
Yes, he does, and it's
But anyways, the Yamamoto Ned Sanko, to your point,
Yeah.
and Nick, who's
Yep.
Nick's like,
Yep.
shall I say, infatuated with this thing. I mean,
He is. He's psyched up
what
about
do
it.
you have? Do you have all 17 colors yet?
I'll tell you what, that's impressive, George. All them colors.
Or you
Yeah.
gonna you have them all? Don't
Well,
don't
I
you?
just think it's cool that they came out with all the colors. And
Yeah.
when I put it on that jig head, it just the TRD works great. You can never ever
Right.
dispute what that thing does.
Right.
But there's not a whole lot of action to it.
Yeah.
There's just not.
It
Um,
floats straight up and
But
down.
that
It does
thing
what,
there, and what I like about it is what you guys are talking about today.
Yeah.
The river fishing.
Yeah.
And in current with that action,
Mm.
I like it.
Well, you know, and there is a time and a place to have that TRD tied up
Yeah.
and ready to go because you know you might only throw it for a few minutes of the day in a situation, but it might produce your 4-pounder that day. I mean,
Yeah.
the TRD. Don't be. For those of you who have been living under a rock for the last couple of
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
what is this TRD you speak
Yeah.
of?
It's a big
What
fish
is this?
catching son of a gun, man.
What are they talking about, TRD? I
Yeah.
mean, if you're like that guy, or if you're like, you know, Bubba with the frickin' flipping stick and I don't even own a spinning rod, you two guys ought to get together and go to some get in a 12-step
TRD classes.
program or something because that little dude will flat out catch a giant fish.
It does.
You know, you get those tough bite periods daily.
I don't
Windows where it's like,
yeah.
oh man,
I don't think enough people throw it, you know.
it's an option. It's an option.
People don't give it the time.
It's an option.
But you know what
They really
happens,
don't.
Mike? The guy in the back of your boat starts catching them.
Starts whooping your ass. Yeah.
no choice.
That happens.
Well,
Yeah. So I mean, you know, get them now. Like I said, these baits are probably going to go pretty quick. So you guys, if you're interested, just jump online and order up a couple packs and get them in sync. And we're going to do our best to keep them in stock as much as we can. So go ahead and get that. So we have had our first tournament on the Conowinga Pond, and it was this past weekend in the windstorm here in the Northeast. We had horrible wind. We had 20 to 30 to 40 mile an hour winds at times, and
but only on the weekend.
And it was this tournament was Saturday, so me and George couldn't fish it. But the poor guys went out there, man, and they got their freaking butt kicked, Nick, in that wind. You know how it's like fishing in the wind.
32 boats.
Yeah, 32 boats in there. And great turnout. Great turnout. Thanks, guys. And there was a bunch of guys that couldn't make it because they were fishing other places or like us that were working. But we have one this weekend on Sunday. If you want to come out, be there 4:30 in the morning.
Good
is
God.
when the scales, when the registration opens. We're blasting off at 5:30.
That's a very uncivilized hour.
That is not even normal business hours when it comes to tournament fishing.
I think next
Did you ever
year
blast
it's gonna
off at
be
5:30 in a
6:30.
tournament, Nick?
I think I did, but then I probably regretted it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, it was good at morning until about 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, oh.
I think we get 100 boats if it was at like 6 o'clock or 6:30.
Oh, they do a good
I
job.
really do.
Well, I mean,
They do a great job.
proof is in the pudding. They got 197 boats down on the Potomac, and they don't blast off till 6:30. So I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
All right. Well, anyway, it was a
enough
great
busting on
turnout.
Brian.
It was a great turnout. We had 32 boats in the tournament, and a great for the conditions. We had a great weigh-in. First place, Darren Dahl and Eric Stauffer was 1665 for this time of year down there. Is a great bag. That's like catching 26 up north. That's a huge bag right now.
Hold on now.
That's pretty big for this time of year. June on the Conowinga pool. Jeez, son.
And what were the conditions like you said about the wind?
Yeah, they had three footers, 4 footers. Now in the morning it was calm and then it billed all day long, but even still that was blowing right straight down the pipe, you know, and it's tough to get out of it. So you had to work hard, and the guys that stuck with it obviously caught them. Congratulations, Darren Dahl, Eric Stauffer, for your win there. Second place, our own Greg Plank and Zach Plank, father and son team. Man, he was in today telling us a story about that. He fought those waves all day long. Horrible conditions. He was right in the mouth of the devil, and he had 1582.
Was he fishing the Devil's Pass?
Devil's Tongue.
Good God.
He was fishing the Devil's Tongue, and
well, you got to run the Devil's Tongue to get to the Devil's
You
Pass.
do.
It's ugly.
You do. And they were talking 1582. So what a great bag air. Third place, Dave McCulloch and Scott Johnson. They're hammers down there anyway. They got 1349. Steve DiMato and Jeremy Boyd, they fish all of them, 1329. Congratulations, guys. That's a great bag. Dave Kovac and Brian Setlock. Man, Brian's right over here. He won't come on the film or the camera. But 1249. So that's about your average, bro. You're right there.
Yeah.
You're right there. Fishing for smallies, I'm sure. Yep.
Yeah,
he might have been fishing the devil's toe.
Old B-Rise hell in that 12-pound bag, man. Let me just tell you.
Mike Ward and Joe Staub, they fish every one of them, 1222, respectable. Tommy Turner and George Fortner. George Fortner all the way from South Carolina.
What time did he have to get up in the morning?
He woke up awfully early, drove straight up and fished that tournament with Tommy Turner from Maryland. Long-time tournament guys, George.
Oh, listen, Tommy Turner and George Fortner.
They forgot more about bass fishing.
They go back to when it was 9.9 horsepower and dugout canoes, but really, they've also been supporters of SFT since day one.
Yeah.
Let's face it.
Yeah, absolutely. Great guys. Yeah, look at this. 8th place. The Saginiches. Ray and Mike Saginich. If you don't know the Saginiches, then you don't know bass fishing. You know that.
Old school.
70. I think Ray's like 74 and just hammered that
but
thing.
he don't look a day over 70.
He doesn't. He was out there fishing that. He was out there fishing that 4-footers, man, standing up, throwing that. I know he was throwing that damn rattle trap all day long. You know that's what he was doing.
Don't say that on live camera.
Well, they got the high seas line for 8th place. Jason Basta and Ben McCubbin. Jason Basta, man, fishes them all. Those guys are hammers.
They got the Tiki Lee's gift cards.
They did get Tiki. That's like the prize I'm going after. You got to be in 9th place to get that. I have to plan that out for this weekend. And then first lunker was husband or boyfriend, girlfriend, looks like. And I think the girl caught the 450. At least I'm going to say she did. 4.50 largemouth for lunker. Second lunker was 438. And real cleaning certificate was Andrew Sense and Hunter House. That's for the smallest bag of fish. somebody has to have the smallest bag of fish. I'm sorry. So why not give an award for it?
I'm surprised Brian didn't win that.
I am too. There you have it.
All right, this weekend,
If
you're not too scared, okay, Mike and I'll be there at the ramp early. We'll have be taking side action.
Yeah.
But we're not blasting off till 6:30. So if you guys want any of that side action, get there later.
Yeah.
And then we'll come find somebody to do a live well check for us, but we gotta stop and get coffee and breakfast on the way.
For real, it's good for everybody to fish, and we haven't been there all year. We haven't been there.
Make excuses.
No,
now.
we haven't been there since. I'm just saying, it's going to be interesting how we can figure it out. It's going to be real interesting how we can figure it out.
As far as I figured out, they're still paying second place, so there's hope for everybody else.
Yeah. All right. There you have it.
Let's
do it. All right. So, Don Roeder's in the house. Clifford Ruck, how you doing, Clifford? Scott Van Leer.
Captain Carl Bunch.
Captain Carl Bunch is here. How you doing? Greg Plank. I just talked about you, Greg. Second place. We just talked about you.
Yeah.
Connor McLaughlin. We just talked about you too. And who else here? Geraldine Reed. All right. Yeah. Jeffrey Riddle. How you doing, bud? Okay. Well,
all
right. We got some great stuff coming on up to the show here, and we're going to start out with some awesome and, as always, tournament talk.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, so we always bring tournament talk into it, and it always sparks our topic of the night usually. And this is no different. We got
spot on.
Yeah. So we got some stuff.
Well, the interesting thing there, Mike, is, the tournament that we started talking about last week.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, there's a little bit of a tournament lull. Like these organizations go hard at it. I mean, most of them are 3/4 of the way done. And then they take a little lull because our industry has our trade show next month. Well, in the middle of the month, so it kind of chops up July. It's a crazy time to have a trade show for a fishing industry. I mean, 75% of the industry is in the peak of its season. Let's have a trade show. Okay. But I digress.
Yeah.
And, so the leagues kind of work around this because, their top athletes are heavily involved with a number of companies, and, they need to work this show. So they need time to get there, blah, blah, blah. As a matter of fact, I know our little team here is going, and we have filming appointments made with many of the pros.
Yeah.
Cameraman Nick's going to be
running around crazy.
A crook in his neck. He's going to be filming from morning till night.
Heck yeah.
But this tournament on the James River was snuck in right before their break, if you will, because they're not really going to do much until like the week after the show. So they basically have a month off. There's a few derbies in there.
Well, that's not true because
you got the open.
The open is no wait.
Well, I'm talking tour level stuff.
Yeah, no, not well. That's tour, but the other one is the elites are just finishing up on Sunday from Thousand Islands.
What Sunday?
Sunday before ICAST.
Oh,
that is true.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because our boy GDP, I was trying to dial him in, and when he's kind of come down so he can meet up with us. He's like, well, I'm not going to leave till Tuesday because I'm driving back on Monday. There you have it.
Because he's going to win?
Yeah, because he's going to, he has to do interviews.
That's right.
Hold the trophy high.
Yeah.
Do the interviews.
Right. I know. I mean, you can't come home Sunday night because you're on Sports Center.
Yep. So anyway, we had some tournaments today, last week that
were finished up.
Yeah, that was awesome. It was like a double string back-to-back whammy for us, and we loved it.
Yeah, so the James River
Love the
Pro-
James River.
Pro Circuit, which is the
God, I loved watching that tournament.
the MLF or
Yeah.
whatever.
That was so much fun watching that.
It really speaks to what we're talking about tonight. Summer river fishing. I mean, these guys put on a clinic. First of all, if you didn't see that tournament, you need to plan a trip to the James River because, I mean, they caught some fish now.
They did.
I'm talking about catching fish all day long.
Yeah.
Now, admittedly, they caught a ton of like 1.5 pound, 2 pounders, but I never heard anybody that I ever fished with complain about catching 2 pounders all day long. But they caught some big fish. Brett Height caught a 8-10. There was a 7-15. There was a lot of 4s. The guy that won it, Nick LeBron, his first hookup of the final day was a 4 and a 3 on the same cast. One on the front hook, one on the back. I mean, and then he caught, after he got his limit, he caught like a 5, a 4, and a 4.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a great fishery.
Scott Van Leer was a marshal there.
I'll bet you he learned a few things about summer river fishing.
Guaranteed. He lives down there.
George, did he land both those fish?
He sure enough did.
Nice.
Yep.
Google that stuff up. But it was a really, like, I watched it close. It was a really great lesson for us on summer river fishing. Now, admittedly, it was tidal river. Not, but a river's a river. I mean, current's current. The tidal river current might go 2 different directions at 6 hours apart. But like Nick LeBron said, he was catching his fish on a square bill, unnamed.
Unnamed.
But he was keeping it on heavy line and he was keeping it high in the water column. And the choice tidbit here for us is 2 things. Keeping it high in the water column and banging it off of trees. Now, he was fishing cypress trees, okay? So cypress trees are totally unique to all the trees in the world in the fact that they have a trunk and then they have a
Big ball.
What they call the donut,
Yeah.
which is like a moat around the trunk. And then they have
The root ball.
roots that stick up like this. So you have one tree, you can literally make 25 casts at one tree. And that magic tree that he was fishing was on a current seam, which was key. It was like dock, and this tree was in between these docks. It's like these people built their docks so they could have this tree, as a feature of the dock.
Yeah.
And it was right on the current seam.
Yeah.
So they did good.
So you can't get any better than that.
And, the key to his unnamed square bill was keeping it high in the water column. Now, think about that. Normally, we want to dig deep.
Ben's asking what tournament that was. That was the Major League Fishing Big 5
Yeah, the Pro Circuit.
Pro Circuit.
So normally, you're picking a square bill. It's going to root around, bang off the bottom, bang off the tree, deflections where it's at, right? This tidbit here was keep it high and deflect it. But his key was, and he's a big Hayabusa pro, his key was the hooks that he uses, which is the TBL 930s in a size 2 on that square bill because of the quality of the hook. Because you're getting snagged like 5 million times a day. And you got to pop the crankbait loose and your hooks are getting all beat up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And he actually, what's interesting about Nick LeBrun is
he's a bad freaking ass fisherman.
He won the last Major League Fishing Pro Circuit event, which was on Guntersville Lake.
2 in a row he did.
So $100,000, 2 in a row.
Yeah, that's something.
It's only the 3rd or 4th time it's been done.
He's just hot right now.
But
really hot.
In that tournament, he talked about TBL 930 Hayabusa trebles, and they have a coating on them. It's called an NRB coating. It's a non-reflective coating that is super slick. It's
penetration's unbelievable.
Think of it like a Teflon, although it's not really a Teflon.
Right.
So the other thing he did on the final day was wacky rig a Senko. He actually used a VMC chopstick. And, he said the key to that was getting it on that current seam and dead sticking it, which is something that we're actually going to talk about on river fishing today, is the effectiveness of a wacky rig on a tough bite. And he said when he would get in those tough windows, like we hinted to about the TRD earlier, Nick, when he would get in those tough windows, he'd put that wacky rigged chopstick, Senko, stickworm, down there and just dead stick it. Again, he's a Hayabusa pro. He was on that worm at WRM 201 wacky hook, which is, a beast also.
Yeah,
so
that's a great hook.
That was first place, and we learned some great stuff there. He was in the Chickahominy, by the way, boys.
Yeah.
So he ran 450 miles in 4 days from Osborne Landing to the Chickahominy.
So he won 100,000 and spent 50,000.
Well, no, but that's a valid point because he runs a V8 Merc, and when he's at wide open throttle, hammered down, screaming that Skeeter down the lake for everything she's worth, he's a little bit over 1 mile to the gallon.
God, that's crazy.
So
man.
450 miles, 450 gallons. Call it 400. I mean, what's 50 gallons amongst friends? But he won 100K. So, I mean,
$2,000 in fuel, man.
What up with it?
That's crazy.
So, hats off to Nick LeBrun, back-to-back wins.
He wasn't the only one doing that. What about the guys that didn't do anything
How
and
about
didn't catch
second
a check?
place?
Yeah.
Dakota Ebrey.
All right. I like him.
Guess where he fished the whole tournament? In the Chick.
Yeah.
Now, he did things a little different. He concentrated on pads.
Yeah.
And
that looked like a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, he was flipping.
He was flipping.
3/4 ounce tungsten.
He didn't get a lot of bites. He was saying,
he got good ones, though.
But he got good bites.
He was
every day. He got that 5-pounder, that nice big 5-pounder. Yep.
And he usually got it early.
Yeah. One day, I think third day, he didn't get it till later.
Well, yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
But
he was sweating bullets on that.
Last day, he got a good fish early.
You know how hard that is to stay focused on that and say to yourself that I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing the right thing. You know how hard that is when you're sitting with 3 fish at, 1 o'clock in the afternoon and your tournament's online. Did I make the right decision? All of a sudden, bingo. And all of a sudden, bingo. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is hard.
Yeah.
Now, he was flipping a rage bug. And it's not really going to, this whole vegetation flipping thing is not where we're going tonight. But, I'm just trying to make parallels between this tournament and tonight's conversation. But for you tidal water guys.
George, we have a minute here.
Yeah. Take it over.
Well, look here. We have our buddy that works up at Trogs, and he stopped in today again, and the only reason we didn't open up with this is because we wanted to give it another half an hour in the cooler. Our buddy from Trogs came in and gave us this to drink for our show. This is Trail Day Dry Hop Pilsner, Nick. Trail Day Dry Hop Pilsner. And George is excited about it.
Oh, I love a Pilsner. The proceeds from this Pilsner benefit a bridge on the Appalachian Trail.
The Nittany Bridge. It's called the Nittany Bridge.
Yeah, I don't know where that is.
Yeah. So, they're going to be up.
I'm not really a big Appalachian Trail guy.
No, but they're going to rebuild it because
I'm waiting for them to open it up for
washed out.
four-wheelers.
It got washed out or blown over or something. I don't know.
I think they should have a 4-wheeler.
So we'd like to
Trail.
thank our friends from Trogs.
Absolutely. Let me
and
how about you, cameraman Nick?
Oh yeah, he's gonna have one.
You want to get into one of these pints?
I gotta stay away from them other ones. The last show I got a little out of control with those.
Well, he also brought us an 8-pack of Nimble Giants.
Yeah.
2 of them. And it's night time.
Yeah, so we're gonna try this right here. 5% alcohol, and but it's nice. It's a nice beer. I'm hoping it's gonna be. I never had
he's
it.
watching the show.
Never had it.
He's watching the show, and I'm going to totally butcher his name because I have a memory of a. Well, I'm old, so get over it. Matthew.
Matthew.
Did I get that right?
I think so.
Type in there, Matthew, if I got that right.
Yeah.
Make me feel good about myself.
Yeah, thank you, Matthew,
and
Trogs. Thank you so much for the Trail Day dry hop Pilsner. I never had one before. Hopefully it's gonna be really good.
Pilsner's good. It's absolutely fabulous.
That's actually really good.
I like it.
I like that.
Hey, B-Rye, you want one of these? Okay.
B-Rye's good.
Okay.
Well, there you have it.
All
Johnny
right.
Johnny Cop. No, we're not drunk guys. We're just connoisseurs of the alcohol beverage. That's all. Cody Edmonds, how you doing, buddy?
Can we get back on point here?
Let's get on point, George. We're waiting on you.
My train got derailed.
We are waiting on you. You're doing good.
Call hazmat in on
you want me to bring you up where you were?
No.
Okay.
I was just finishing up with second place on the James River.
That was
Pro
awesome.
Circuit MLF. Dakota Ebear, one of those.
Yeah.
Flipping a rage bug. And we're not really going to go into a lot of flipping tonight on our conversation, but it's a great tidal water summertime gambit is to totally commit yourself. Now, the interesting thing about here is he wasn't running the tide. Now, by running the tide, and the James River is a perfect scenario for this, the tidal difference between the mouth of the Chick and up towards the boat ramp is like a 2-hour tidal difference.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Now, it's a 45-minute run down there to the mouth, but that 45-minute run at wide open throttle gives you about a 2-hour tidal difference. So,
wait, from the top of the Chick to the mouth?
No, from the mouth of the Chick to Osborne Landing.
To Osborne Landing,
on the
right.
James.
Yes.
So from the top of the James down to the Chick.
Did you? You know what? I'm surprised that you didn't hear a lot of play. It was all that barge pit up top there.
There was a few guys in there.
There was,
namely one Nick LeBrun.
Yeah, he would do it on the way back. He would
run the tide.
He would run the tide back.
Plus, that last day he had what he needed, and there was a big wind.
Yeah.
But anyways, to get a grip on this tide thing, for those of you follow along here that aren't sure, if you're not sure what running the tide means, so if you take off at James Osborne Landing on the James and you run to the mouth of the Chick or slightly up the Chick,
running south on the river,
on the Main River,
you're running south.
And let's
towards the ocean. That's going towards the ocean. That's important.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not going.
Anything else you want to put in there?
I'm just trying to. No. I'm trying to let because Osborne Land. Who hell knows where that's at? Nobody knows. So you're running.
It's up the river.
You're running down the river towards the ocean.
I think that's established.
Okay. Go ahead.
So the tide's going to go out down there first. So on this tournament, that last of the outgoing and particularly the beginning of the incoming was hot. But once you got past that and you started getting onto that flood,
Yeah.
So what you do at that point, now the day one was perfect because low tide down there was at 9:30 in the morning.
Yeah. So they had the great,
so
perfect hour and a half.
Perfect.
Outgoing and the slack
and then the first couple hours of incoming.
Yeah.
So now it's let's just say it's 9:30 low, 10 o'clock slack. You fish till noon. You're in the last flight. You're doing it at 4:30. You crank it up and you run back up the river. And here's the interesting thing: if you're following me on those of you who aren't dialed in on running the tide, when you get back up the river at say 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's kind of the equivalent of 11 a.m.
Yeah.
down there.
Yeah, so you still got the great part of the incoming, the
Exactly.
turn of the incoming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got that sweet part of the incoming.
Yeah.
And you know,
you can get a couple hours on some good stuff.
You're in now. That's a long way. So when you're talking about running the tide, you know, when you're on a body of water like that, that's how far you have to go to get that separation, right?
Yeah.
The farther north you go, or the farther east you go on some of the smaller tributaries, you get a bigger tide. You know, you don't have to go as far.
Guys, just a really quick question, because I know everybody that's watching this is wondering this. You both have a lot of experience on tidal waters. Has it paid for you to run the tides most of the time or not?
We ran the tides all the time. Yeah. I could tell you that, you know, there's a lot of times, well, you know, guys will run the tide. They'll have a starting spot and then they'll have a finishing spot. And that's kind of what I always did. I always said, okay, I'm going to go down here. I got to be down here at whatever time. And then I'm going to finish back up here, you know, but you know, you can see I was always down towards the ocean, and we were always running back the other way to catch the sweet spot of something else. But, you know, we had primary areas and then we had the catch the tide area on the way back.
Well,
towards the ramp.
And I think Nick LeBrun and Dakota Ebraer kind of
George ran a tide a lot. You're a tide runner.
Yeah.
You're a tide runner, but it's hard to do.
Not always.
It's hard to do.
You know, I think Nick LeBrun and Dakota Ebraer really show you both sides of your question about running the tide.
Yeah.
You know, Nick LeBrun was running the tide. Dakota Ebraer really wasn't.
But he didn't have his fish until the end of the day all the time.
He was so to answer your question on a personal level, you know, I would run the tide quite frequently, but sometimes I wouldn't run the tide, you know.
Depends on the body of the water too.
On the Potomac River, you know, if I had a north bite at, you know, 11 or 12, and it wasn't worth much before that, now the difference from DC to the Potomac Creek is actually the Aquia Creek is 2.5 hours. So I could do that same thing. I could plan out.
We did that a lot down there.
You know, I could plan out, you know, if I had a north bite, I'd have that true 2 hours of separation. Let's say, you know, perfect scenario, it was 11 a.m. low tide up, you know, up north, but it was no good in the morning until 11 or 10 or 11, you know, and you could put in practice, if you could put something together south,
yeah,
knowing that you could run south. Now you got to run a lot. You know, you might run 15 or 20 miles south,
fish, and then
run back to where you were, and then run another 15 or 20 miles north, and then run for the way in back to where you were.
Yeah.
So, you know, you ran, you know, a lot. So it had to be good on both ends.
Well, yeah, and if you have a spot like that, or you have an area that you know turns on at certain times, and you just run it. You just, you know, go for it.
You know, and then that other side of the coin is the Dakota Ebraer. You know, hey, I'm camping here. I'm gonna see the best of the tide, and I'm gonna see the worst of the tide. And your mind puts you in a place of, now this is tournament speak. Your mind puts you in a place of, anything I catch before 8 a.m., 9 a.m. is a bonus. Anything I catch after 12:31 is a bonus. And that toughened you up. So,
well, a good point Go Gomez brings up is, you know, you have to stop for fuel in some of these bodies of water, you know, because you're running so much, you have to stop and get fuel. And that you have to figure out whether it's worth doing that, you know, and some people, you know, say, no, hell no, I ain't dealing with that.
Yeah. I mean, depending on your rig,
yep.
And how far you're running, you do have to get fuel. And you know, there might be one dock and there might be 40 boats
trying to get fuel.
So, you know, you got that. But anyways,
it's a problem. What's up, Bill McDermott? How you doing, buddy? Robert Standiford. How you doing, bud? Daryl Esterly. Good job, Daryl, today on your tournament, man. Congratulations. That's a great start.
Oh, wait a minute. Starting to look like a tidal water fisherman.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, he has a tidal skag on
Yes.
running the tide,
Which is why you did so good.
That's right. You were going where you're supposed to go, Daryl. That's why you're catching them.
The last time I was talking to him, he was struggling on tidal water, and I didn't even talk to him. I just walked outside and looked at his boat, and I'm like, bro, your shit's got paint on it still, man. You ain't
fishing right.
You ain't. If you have a boat with paint on the lower unit, you are not a tidal water fisherman.
Daryl is fishing the Toyota series down in the Potomac right now.
Well done.
And I think he's 30 in the 30s.
Well done.
The high 30s.
And a stacked field.
Yeah, in a stacked field.
Daryl.
And he got 15 pounds a day. So 15 plus pounds a day, which is really good on the Potomac this time of year.
Well, Daryl, you what you probably didn't know going into this tournament is this guy by the name of Jeff Coble, who's leading. You may or may not realize what kind of can of whoop ass he's capable of opening up, because he is the man. Jeff Coble could have fished the elites since their inception. As a matter of fact, he turned down every time he qualified.
Yeah, he could have easily done it.
I mean, he would probably be like
Kevin Van Dam
a legend on the Elite Series right now, but he had other things to do.
Yep.
So just remember, if you don't win this tournament and because Jeff Coble does, I wouldn't feel too bad.
I wouldn't either.
That. I wouldn't feel too bad about that, because
I don't mind getting my ass whooped by Jeff Coble.
Every once in a while, Jeff's boss tells him to go out and go fishing. Now, Jeff's boss owns Phoenix Boats, so I mean they're kind of fishing people. So every once in a while, Gary Klaus says, "You need to go fishing, son." And then what he does is some poor son bitch somewhere is trying to make a living. He shows up at their tournament.
He's a hammer.
And you go over and look at his boat, Daryl. There probably ain't even a skeg on it.
or one that's been welded many, many times. Yeah.
But anyways, Mitch Crane finished third. And what I like about Mitch Crane's game plan is the jackhammer and the buzzbait. And what I liked about his buzzbait, and I really like everybody to focus in on this, he fished a white buzzbait with a toad, and he fished a black buzzbait with a toad. Now, in our world, when the sun's out and the water's clear, you fish the white buzzbait. And when it's dingy water or cloudy, you fish the black buzzbait. Well, this guy specifically said that when it was dingy water before the tide sucked it out, he fished the white buzzbait. And when it got clear, he fished the black buzzbait. And I watched him on the live, and he was whacking them on a buzzbait.
Yeah.
So, Mitch Crane, thank you for the lesson.
What else were you saying about that?
He had great. So this is the
you were crying about that all day, man. This guy is unbelievable. You don't believe it.
I loved it. This is the War Eagle Buzz Toad, and the other one we like out of the box is the Big Bite Baits. He wasn't fishing either one of those. He's a Nichols pro. But notice there's no skirt on buzz toads. So the whole thing with buzz toads is, and it's kind of taken over the game. A toad or a big flappy grub like the Rage grub, Menace grub.
Yeah.
Or what I like to do a lot for smallmouth is a big super fluke. So the game is, no skirt. Now, we had a guy do a seminar here a little while ago when he was just starting to destroy everybody's hopes and dreams. And his name is Jacob Wheeler.
Yeah.
And in his seminar, he was talking about cutting his skirt back really, really small and putting a kicking bait on. Well, that's what this Mitch Crane did. He had a sparse skirt on.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, my man was thumping them in some of these creeks. and he didn't have no paint on his lower unit because he said, if I don't get out of this creek soon, I'm going to be here all day.
Yeah.
And when he went out, he didn't go out.
He ran out.
He wasn't idling.
You can't idle out. Some of the stuff you can't idle. You got to blow it.
He said, there's a log in front of this creek, and I can jump the log, but he said, I can't get over the sandbar.
Yeah. Well, I fished
about.
with Randy Howe down on.
That's called Starsky and Hutch.
I fished with Randy Howe down on Tidal Water Potomac, and that boy took me on a ride where I'm surprised we even had a motor on the back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, you talk about white knuckle, Nick?
It wasn't his first day.
That nice new shirt you got, Nick, which Nick got the white AFCO flag shirt.
I love this shirt.
It's called the Allegiance.
The Allegiance shirt, and my knuckles were as white as that shirt, Nick.
I remember that story. I don't know how you got through it.
I'm telling you, man. He set down that boat. I'm like, are you out of your friggin' mind?
Well,
He's like,
you learned something.
You got to go where the fish are. And I'm like, you're right, brother.
And then the last guy I got for you, Mike, on this river lesson, this classroom, this tournament classroom is, you might have heard of this guy. He's pretty, I mean, he's won a few tournaments. His name's Michael Neal.
Like that guy.
He owns the Dayton boat docks on Lake Chickamauga.
Yeah.
Got him a tackle shop there. He's kind of like me and you, only way more successful.
Yeah, well,
his fishing
he
side.
was allowed to fish.
Well, on his fishing side.
He was allowed to fish.
Huh? He's way better.
You cut me loose, man. Look out.
A lot better than you are, I can tell you.
Cut me loose out there to call me Mike Acord Neal.
Yeah. But anyways, this guy put that big bite bait toad buzz and a spro popping frog, and he's like, you know what? I ain't interested in 2-pounders. I'm interested in power fishing and reaction bites from big fish. And that's what he did.
Yeah.
And that is what he did. He did it for all 4 days. He wasn't flipping, dipping, skipping, pipping, none of that stuff. He was buzzing and popping.
Yeah.
And he was going for aggressive fish that might be one here and one on the other end of that creek.
Yeah.
Which is a bona fide summertime pattern, as we shall find out in our next segment.
Yeah.
Which is the topic of the day.
Yeah.
Hold on, George. There's one thing that's breaking news.
Whoa.
Uh-oh.
In today's tournament, which we talked about, Potomac, somebody did a shout out to SFT.
What?
And his name was Spike Stoker.
My man. My man, Spike Stoker, might possibly be the only other bass fishing alive that can beat Jeff Coble. I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Spike Stoker.
In my world, Jeff Coble will win this tournament unless Spike Stoker comes up on him. So, everybody else that's down there, have fun.
Yeah.
As far as I know, they're paying third through whatever.
Yeah.
But first and second is decided.
And if you're in the top 10, you got Spike Stoker on your tail.
Yeah. And I'm not going to be able to make the weigh-in. So when he weighs in, anybody down there, you tell them the boys at SFT Tackle are
right
like,
on.
Rock on, bro.
Right on.
Because I'm telling you right now.
All right. Well, great segment there. You know, we talked about something at the beginning of the podcast, and we need to get to it right now, and that is our drawing.
Oh, wait a minute. I got some stuff on that.
Yeah. We're going to do our drawing that we here's, go ahead, Nick, with that. You know what we were thinking about doing for next.
Okay. So when we do these drawings, and you got to pay attention on our social media, that's going to be TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And there's going to be pop-up giveaways. We want you to really share our content. We want you to comment on our content, and what it's going to do is going to get our algorithms to go up so more people can be reached.
Yeah.
And in that. So we want to give back. That's what these giveaways are for.
Yeah, right here.
And this package that you see here,
look at that.
If you watched the video, this was Greg DePalma talking about the top 3 techniques he likes to use with forward-facing sonar.
Absolutely. And he was talking about the jerk bait, which everybody's doing is a jerk bait. And then he was talking about the Yamamoto Senko,
Right.
And he was talking about the drop shot, which is the Morning Dawn drop shot bait.
Right.
And that's his favorite color.
And these are the baits that he's saying that when you're looking at that forward facing sonar, it's very easy to see fish, take the bait and see that lure work.
React to it. Yeah.
Yep.
And then you can't catch anything unless you have a sfttackle.com American flag, brand new American flag hat.
That's a fresh new lid right there.
That's a fresh new lid. So we're going to give this away. And I'm going to have, do you mind if I, now listen, there's 20 some in here.
Right.
And I know we could have had
5,000,
500.
Right.
Because a lot of guys didn't do it right.
Yeah. They got to comment, and then share the post.
That's all you have to do.
That's all you have to do.
And if you want to comment and said I don't like George, that's fine.
Well,
all right.
Did we get any comments like that?
No, I don't think so.
Because I saw some that said, I don't like Mike.
Yeah, that's right. And if you don't like Mike, you can say that too. But you're going to say, I don't like George.
Oh, here we go.
Because I'm the favorite.
It looks like Brian should pick the winner.
I think so. We're going to have Brian step in here.
Well, no.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Well, I don't know, Brian.
Because you can't even do it right.
You probably spend about 5 hours of your week.
He didn't comment.
He probably liked and shared, but he didn't comment.
He didn't comment.
You got to do all three to get in because we have to be fair about
If I know Brian, he probably spends 5 hours a week getting these contests.
There goes the name.
So everybody who's in here,
they did it right.
They did it right.
They did it right.
And everybody who thinks they're in here, he didn't do it right.
Right.
So, but that's okay because guess what, Nick? We're going to do it again for next show.
It's nice right now as people don't know what they're doing. You can take advantage of that by doing it correctly.
Yeah.
And you don't have as many people to go against.
Exactly. So next, we're going to do another shot at this next week. We're going to do another giveaway. And we're going to do this for a while.
Right.
We got some stuff we're going to give away. We're going to do this for a while. So here it is.
Well, for God's sakes, would
Brian,
you give it away? Because
come
the
on in here,
suspense is killing me.
So this is Brian. This is if for you, some guys know Brian, some guys don't know Brian, but this is Brian, and Brian runs the Conowingo Tournament Trail, and he's a Susquehanna Fishing Tackle Pro staffer.
Thank you. A1 from day one.
A1 from day one. Been with us for a very long time, and we always pick on him, but that's because we love him.
Oh.
If you walk in here and we don't pick on you, we're still testing the waters with you. But if we're picking on you right away, we love you to death. So
yeah, old B. Rye always answers your call.
He always does when we need him. He's always here for us. So we appreciate Brian. And okay, Brian. Here we go. This is the winner.
Survey says.
Thanks, Brian.
Joe Cast 12. I know that name.
That's got to be from
Joe Cast 12.
Sounds like an Instagram.
It might.
Yep.
It might. I'm going to hold this out. Put it right here. Joe Cast 12.
Yeah, put that right up here.
Are we going to get a hold of him, or is he going to get a hold of us?
We're going to get a hold of him unless he is watching right now and can reach out. But we're going to get a hold of him. We're going to mail that out to him right away and get the next.
Put that out tomorrow.
Yeah. Say what you want. That's a $25 hat, and then that's like $20 worth of stuff.
And that's proven stuff.
Well, proven winners from great GDP Greg DePalma.
I don't know where you come up with $20 worth of stuff.
And you don't see Greg DePalma chime.
$40 worth of stuff.
You don't see Greg DePalma chiming in here because we're going fishing with him Wednesday next week. And I told him, get your shit together.
Nice.
He's getting it together. So he don't have time to be, we're going fishing.
Mike, J.W. Wade would like an SFT sticker.
How can I get an SFT
How can he
sticker?
get one?
That's my department.
Oh, my.
And we gave out 3,333.
Let me check something.
Yeah, we gave out 3,000.
JW, hold on a second.
333 stickers in the last 6 months. So I'm just waiting a minute to get some more. Oh, my God. So we sent Brian out for to replenish the stock here at the shop. We call them shop supplies. So he went out and got us some Miller Lights. And
JW.
Guess what happened to Brian? Can you see that? Well, you have one?
Well,
where'd you get that?
Can you believe I got carded? I'm out.
Brian, we sent Brian to get some beer. He got carded at the beer store. And the drinking guy.
Big tall dude. Trey.
So anyway.
Yeah. You said Trey.
Hey, Brian.
I'm here for
Brian, you take that as a compliment, buddy. Yeah, take that as a compliment.
Yo, JW.
Thanks, Brian. See you, buddy.
I know how you can get one of these. Place you a little internet order and there'll be one in your box.
Yeah.
I
Order
got
some
this
of them
one for
Neds
you.
right now.
I got this one for you.
Well, we
bro.
had 3,333 of them.
I think it was 300,000.
No, it's 3,333 we put in orders. You know, that's how we give a lot of our stickers out is everybody gets one in the orders. And we gave out 3,333 of them.
In a week.
I wish.
That's how busy we are.
It didn't take long though. We went through it. So I'm reloading. I'm resupplying right now, but those things aren't cheap. You know.
Get over it, you freaking tightwad.
I am a tightwad.
Let's move on.
All right. So let's get on it. We're going to start talking about river fishing right now.
Summer river fishing.
Summertime river fishing. So,
You talking dog days?
yeah, I mean, you know,
Hot.
right now, June, July, August, September, low rains, you know, just,
Well, it could be high rain.
it could be, but I'm talking like these are techniques that'll work when the water's hot and low and clear. But also you got to be able to be ready to, well, anytime you're supposed to be ready to for the rise, and you beg and plead for the rise all the time.
Absolutely. Or just dirty water. You know,
Yeah, just get with something
I think
that's
we talk about it a lot. Like the dirty water thing
yeah,
is really important for summer fishing. So,
absolutely.
you know, and remember we had a whole dirty water show, and in a nutshell, you know, new muddy water, bad. But give them a day or two to accustom to it. Good.
Yeah.
So don't fear the dirty water in case we get because you know we get all kinds of
Well, you
thunderstorms.
get
I mean,
storms and stuff coming through.
even on remote places where maybe the storm hits way up here, there might be one feeder that comes in that
Yeah.
you didn't account for, and then your area gets all
Blowed out.
jammed up.
Yeah. But you know, there's you know, a lot of people they fish, they get up in the morning, they go out and fish till 9 o'clock, and then they're like, you know, got the top water bite in the morning, and then they come back in because they know it gets a little goofy. So we're gonna try to talk about, you know, some of the things that we do on the river, and you know, it can be any river. You know, we're gonna talk about what we do, but it can be any river, literally. I mean, George was telling us about some stuff down in Georgia where they're catching those. I don't know if they're Guatemala or Swannies or
Red eyes. I think they're red eyes.
There might be red eyes. There's anyway, when we did that thing with Shimano.
And they're catching largemouth too.
Yeah. Yeah, they're catching largemouth on there too. But we did this thing with Shimano, and the guy who was doing it was
it was called the Bass Slam.
Yeah.
And they took about 2 weeks. I think it was 2 weeks, and they basically did a tour around the country
on rivers
with the new Corrado K.
Yeah.
And the goal was to catch every subspecies of bass.
5 of them.
No. Way more than 5.
No, I think there was only 5 or 6.
Could have been. But anyways, we're not getting bogged down on
that.
No. Not to get bogged down on that number.
But our boy
Keith
Combs was doing this. So he did this, he did that. He got the, but he went down to Georgia and fished for these, whatever they were, shoal bass or whatever they were.
I think they might have been a shoal.
It might have been a shoal bass
or a red eye
or a red eye or a Swanee or whatever. But he was telling me that about this river, and it was all, it was a lot like Susquehanna, but just skinnier and narrower and more treacherous.
No rock.
No, there was rock.
Oh
yeah, there was rock.
Rock.
Oh yeah, they were running some rock boats down there.
Well,
yeah. And
we have a local.
So anyway, a lot of this stuff will work on a lot of these rivers, but you got to realize you got shallow, wide rivers with lots of flats on them. Then you have narrow, small rivers that don't have as many flats on them. So some of the stuff that we talk about is related to flats fishing and stuff like that. So depending on the river, that you're going to be able to apply a lot of techniques to it.
So question
my point.
for you guys to start with this, I guess, is so the fish go into a post spawn,
Right.
and then they start getting into that summer.
Right.
How does that work on the river? What are these fish doing?
Yeah, well, that's what they're doing. They're coming out of the post spawn funk, which is kind of like barely surviving it. Really, river fish have a horrible time spawning. It's very, very stressful on them. And then if there's a low, hot conditions, it's really stressful on them. So it takes a long time for these fish to come out of their post spawn funk. Now they are eating, don't get me wrong, but they're not chasing, they're not doing anything. They're eating crayfish off the bottom, and they're just really just surviving, trying to survive.
Well, one thing you'll notice, Nick, about river fish in general, it could be any kind of bass, any kind of river. If you have what Mike described, you have what Mike described. But if that post-spawn period is not super hot and there is a ample amount of rain and there's flow, none of that happens.
Exactly.
You go seamlessly from spawn to just really good, solid, consistent fishing.
Yeah.
Now, what Mike described is there's no middle ground. It's either
Yeah, they transition well or they don't transition well.
And what Mike means by a post spawn funk is the spawn can occur and usually does occur over a solid 2 to 2.5 month period of time. There's multiple waves of fish when the conditions are right that will spawn, and it's over a 2 to as much as 2.5 month period of time. The post spawn period really might not even be the best term for it. It's kind of like when that spawn is officially done, and then you all of a sudden you get a drop in flow, and that's the key deal, and a spike in temperature. You got bad fishing, and I don't care if you're in Georgia, and I don't care if you're in freaking New York. That's going to happen on a river. Now, if, like we just said, we get some rain,
which we had the last couple of years,
around here
we had it. We had it really
high on a hog.
We had it really good the last couple of years, but I remember
it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
I remember, in the 90s, it was like clockwork. Come June the 1st, you were done. You were, really tough fishing. I was a guy a lot back in those days, and I wouldn't book guide trips because it was such a traumatic time. Now you could catch them, but you had to be on your A game, and your cast had to be super specific, and you had to have that, that definite upper level to catch them. But and you just had to have that drive to catch them. A lot of guys, when they go on a guide trip, they just sitting back there casting. You got to have a serious drive to catch them in that post spawn.
But you've seen a change over the last couple of years.
Well, no,
we just had good conditions.
We
had good conditions. We had,
everywhere
perfect weather patterns to keep the water up
over a huge geographic area.
Yeah, it was. A lot of people had this great deal, and it kept the water up and it kept the fish healthy and able to. They didn't have that drop in temperature where it added to their stress. Their stress was short-lived. They spawned, they got out of it. They were right into feeding because the temperature was down.
Yeah. The flow was up.
The flow was up.
Flow equals oxygen.
Yeah. They had oxygen.
Lower temperature equals oxygen.
Yeah.
Now, interesting, for those of you who are primarily lake fishermen, lakes that don't feature power generation, lakes that aren't reservoirs, you may not be aware of this kind of thing happening, but in a river world, the flow of the water, which is, the faster, the more water, the more flow, the better, up to the point of a freaking flood.
Yeah.
And the cooler the temperatures, the better. Now, in your lakes, that is kind of true also, but it's a much softer bell curve. But the other thing you have to understand, if you're not a river fisherman, is rivers are very quick to fluctuate in good versus bad.
Oh yeah.
You can have a couple of really bad years and you lose all your young of the year, and that population's going to suffer going through for a few years. Or you can have a couple of really good years and it doesn't seem like it's that much different than your lake that you fish, but it is. So keep that in mind as well.
Yeah.
You know, the fluctuations are a little more pronounced on a river.
That's exactly right. So now we're in the dog days of summer. You're not getting all those rains. You're getting you know, you're getting your lowest water levels of the year. And it just comes out, you know, like we're just coming out of post spawn. So, you know, and we're dealing with some low water. So you're looking for the current, you know, you're looking for, I think right away you want to get into those current situations and fish those ledges and those areas where they generate more current and generate more oxygen, because that's where those fish are really going to migrate to. And I can tell you, you know, like major ledges that create major fall lines on your river, you'll have a lot of fish stack up on those areas, and take advantage of that. Now, they're not going to be fish that travel a long ways, but a lot of the fish that are in their area will gravitate towards that ledge that you get rapids, you know. And it's a pretty cool technique, George, and you've done it, where you go to those areas where there's a lot of oxygen. It's fast water. It's hard to fish, Nick, because you got to be on your trolling motor. You're throwing right up on to where that water's crashing down, and you're looking for small little pockets that those fish can get in and feed very, very easily, slide off and grab something as it comes through those currents. And you're going along and picturing those and seeing those and reading that water and finding those little small pockets, and you're throwing spinner baits and swim baits and moving baits through that top waters. Even we throw top waters in that real fast water, and we, you know, but there's a seam or there's a pocket that gives you know, a little rest to the fish, that they're not fighting it totally, and you can work a popper through there real quick. But it's really fast moving stuff. I love a spinner bait. I love a popper. That's what I usually fish going, and I just work that ledge across, and certain parts of that ledge you'll just start loading up on them, and you can bounce a couple of ledges that, you know, and yeah, you might have to run a little bit to get to them because it's a major fall line ledge. It's not a small ledge that just has swirls in the water. It's a major fall line ledge. That's white water, small pockets, a lot of oxygen, and those fish just are there feeding. So it's something that is hard to do. It's not for everybody. I don't recommend it for people who don't have great boat control skills, because it's a lot of boat control. It's looking backwards at your boat. It's looking forward at your boat. It's looking to the side. It's worrying about where the rocks are, and you're crashing your motor. It's just happening. You're crashing your trolling motor. It's hitting rocks. It's doing all that. But if you can pick apart those pockets and hit those pockets, it's a fantastic early summer pattern where these fish are really wanting this oxygen to recover from the spawn.
Yeah. So, you know, to kind of build upon that in your, you know, your quest for this, you know, beginning of this summer hot period, you know, other forms of current, or anytime you can squeeze that water. So a neck, a deep to a flat, as that water comes up on that flat, it's being compressed, it's accelerating. Those are the kind of places that you want to look for. And they're generally the hardest places to fish.
Yeah.
So they generally also get overlooked.
They do.
Because they are difficult to fish. They're hard to get into. They're hard to maneuver. The guy on the trolling motor is really working hard. You're hitting things, you're breaking things, you're bending things. But that can be primarily the hot bite.
Yeah.
And
George,
you'll see these fish. I mean, you'll just see them up there blowing up on bait,
yeah,
you know?
So George and I, we fish that pattern. So now we're going to fish not just the lower side of it, but we're going to go above it now. And that's now we're into the compression part of that, coming out of deep water. We like to call
it the push.
And it's the push. It's compressing into your fall line. and it's coming out of like some stiller water or some more calmer water. And then right before that, and normally what happens is you run into chunk rock.
Yeah.
And this is where your chunk rock fields come into play.
Not only that, there's a lot of common mistakes made here. Okay. So, hey, guys, I did what you said and it didn't work. Well, you didn't go shallow enough. You know, these fish, when they're on that push, if it's the chunk rock that Mike's talking about, or perhaps there is some water willow that has formed an island.
Mm.
You know, that over the years, you know, that island, that, you know, that water willow's here, but over the years, that shoal might extend up a pretty good distance, and it can trick you. You can come up on it, and all of a sudden you're in 6 inches of water. Well, let me tell you something.
You missed it.
You don't want to be in 6 inches of water, because guess where they are? They're in 6 inches of water.
Yeah, you missed it.
And, you know, so positioning of the boat, reading of the water, thinking of the current, that push, good, well-presented casts with moving style baits, be it a spinner bait, be it a top water, to Mike's point, even a chatterbait, a shallow running crank, anything that's moving, a swim bait, even did I say top water? I did.
Yeah. We love top water on those pushes.
Those are super aggressive fish. They're there for one reason and one reason only. There's current, there's oxygen, and there's food, and they're looking to kill things.
Yeah.
So those areas that you're talking about, is that an area where you usually catch one, or is there multiple a lot of times?
These are multiple fish. And I got to also tell you that these are your bigger fish. I see Mark's chiming in here from Lisa Lake Fish Club. If you're catching small fish, that's what's there this time of year. So when I say we're working laterally across the river, we're working across the river. Now you'll catch smaller fish in areas, and then you'll slide into a certain part of that river that the flow's right and the bait fish is right, and you'll catch your bigger fish, and then you'll go back out of it on the other side, and that's where the smaller fish aren't going to compete with those big fish. They're just not going to do it. There'll be some mixed in there, but
not many.
It's not many.
It's not a popular hangout.
No, when you catch them. Now the other thing, Nick, is
the big kids are mean.
You will catch a lot of fish, but they're not like stacked on top of each other. But there's each little individual home, little individual pocket, little individual rock that they get behind. You know, and you're sweeping those baits across there, the top water or whatever. We're gonna get into some baits here in just a minute. There's one in that pocket. Now you start breaking that ledge down, there might be 20 pockets. So you might have a really good day but you're not going to get all of them to bite. But you might catch you might catch 7 or 8 across there. I tell you, I've saved so many guy trips by having a guy come with me up on the front deck, and when it was just absolutely brutal, and we went to these ledges that are just gurgling, and it's just like really fast moving water. And I get up there and I tell him exactly where to throw. I point it out to him, and about 4 or 5 casts into it, then they start seeing the pockets, and then they start throwing to him without me having to say anything. And they're making these great casts in there. And it's fun because casting accuracy is very important.
Distance,
the distance away from it's very important. Everything is very important. And it's fun as hell, man. It's a lot of fun.
Pretty cool, because last year I got to go with you guys, and it's hard to see what you're talking about until you visually see it.
Yeah.
And when you were showing me, it's interesting how you can do that pattern then.
Yeah.
In other areas.
Yeah.
You can run that pattern.
Right. Exactly. And you can pick up on it. And fishermen, most fishermen that are decent fishermen can pick up on it pretty quickly. So that's that type of fishing. And I think for that stuff, you definitely want to throw, your spinner baits. I like a bigger bladed spinner baits in that bubbly water. I like the full size 4.5s. Yeah, 4.5 blades on those. I think that's double 4.5s. 4 and a 4.5. That's a 4 and a 4.5 on your bigger 3/8 ounce spinner bait, and that pulls hard through the water. So you can kind of slow it down just a little bit and get a nice lift off of it.
I generally go to a 1/2 ounce bait, but I like a compact profile.
That's not in that fast bubbly water. That's in those.
No, for me.
Huh?
For me.
This fast bubbly waters?
yeah.
Oh, that's why I beat you all the time.
I roll through there like Grant went through Richmond, man.
I was wondering why I was always kicking your ass on those ledges.
So I'm running a 3.5 and a 4 blade, but
should have kept that to myself.
I got a small profile, and I've got a lot of my weight hidden underneath the skirt. So I fish a ton of like War Eagle, Screaming Eagle, and also I fish a ton of a 3/8 ounce full size bait like Mike's talking about, but then I like to take a 1/8 ounce rubber core sinker and pinch it on the hook shank for extra weight because I like to be really aggressive. I like to make a long cast. I like that 1/2 ounce ish. I like to make a long cast and I like to burn it.
Yeah.
I'm not giving these fish an opportunity to make a decision. It's like
they really don't have time to. That's the other thing, you know, that they don't really have a lot of time to. They have to hit it pretty quickly.
They do. I mean, it's you know, that whole entire cast and a lot of river situations.
Yeah.
You know,
well, we're going to get into that.
Where the boat is positioned.
Yeah.
On these type areas with a spinnerbait, that whole entire cast is reeling the spinnerbait back in because the first yard of the cast is the strike zone.
Well, it's only the pocket that you're fishing. You know, you're fishing pockets. Now, on the upside, where George is saying, like the squeeze of that water before it runs down over that ledge, you know, or if you know that acceleration point there, you know, you're fishing a lot of swing stuff. You know, you're kind of casting out and swinging it down into it, you know, and it's shallow water, and you're really targeting a rock on a swing. You're targeting a little deeper depression that you can visually see and swing it down in there. But that's like right now. That's like the June, you know, first part of June, you know, not even that, the end of June, the first part of July. And then you get into the July thing, and that's a totally different bite. You know, now these flats come into play.
Yeah, the flats are big, and on a couple different rivers that I've had the pleasure of fishing over the years.
But now you're talking what, in the 80s, 70s?
Oh yeah,
upper 70s.
Yeah, much higher
low
water
80s.
temperatures, hot.
You wouldn't, you know, this is crazy stuff that we're going to talk about here. This is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and a couple of things that we say here are the truth, even though it may seem like
it's really weird.
It's not the truth. So, number one, some of the best topwater fishing that you'll experience for smallmouth.
Yeah.
Now I am right now I am talking about smallmouth. Will be once the sun is fully up in the sky. And I used to kind of round it off, and I used to have a saying back in the guide days of, yeah, you want to get an early morning summertime trip in? That's great, but we're putting the boat on the trailer when the best topwater bite of the day starts. Not discounting that morning topwater bite.
That's always good.
Or that evening topwater
that's always
bite.
Good.
But this is a lone wolf, big fish scattered on flats. And by flats, I like to kind of put it to you this way. And I'm talking so to be clear here, I'm not talking about northern bodies of water that have gobies in them that are deep.
Yeah.
Although some of this works there, I'm not talking about that.
Yeah.
The hotter it gets, the shallower they go.
Yeah.
And I like to
call
it,
this is rivers.
I like to call it the Labor Day pattern. By the time Labor Day comes around, usually Labor Day is hot as can be. And by the time Labor Day comes around, if it's been a low, hot, dry summer, those fish are just in enough water that a lot of times we sort of float into an area and power pole down.
Yeah, you can do it all through August and September.
And it's interesting because, you know, there may or may not be bait fish around, and they may be focusing on crawfish. But what's interesting is that topwater pattern will draw that strike from that lone big fish. Now, you may have to fish a very large area to get numerous bites, but they're all big fish.
They're all big. They're all the biggest, giantest fish you ever seen. And you would think you would see them, but
you know,
you never see them.
It's walking time. You know, it's walking time. It's anywheres from, you know, what's become my favorite low water bait, which is the Giant Dog X. Okay. And every color they make is awesome, especially if it's called HT Ito Tennessee Shad.
That is the greatest one ever.
This would be my favorite one, although they have other ones that are called HT Ito Tennessee Shad that I like.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll put a feather on the back.
Yep.
And it's critical. Sometimes I won't.
Yep.
Now, give me a little ripple on the water. Give me a little chop. And give me the right sun angle so I can pick out a flat rock out there, or I can pick out a little minute, like little ledge, a little ridge running across that flat. And depending on the conditions, I'm going to go and get a little rowdy with Mr. Super Spook and Mr. Super Spook Jr.
Yeah, put a little rattle and stuff out.
You know, because they got a little more.
Yeah.
They're out there saying, yo, dog. But you let it be a little on the calm side. We're going to go with this guy right here.
Yeah, that thing's absolutely deadly. Now,
this guy's tied on from now until fall.
The other thing that we start to throw this time of year, this time of year is that is when I like. This is when I start liking the Screaming Eagle from War Eagle. It's the smaller blades. It's a 1/2 ounce. You can throw it 100 miles. And I don't think George hit on this, but this isn't stuff where you're looking 30 yards in front of your boat. You're looking 40, 50 yards out to see where you want to cast. And this is where you're going to cast and get about 10 feet of cast in, and then the rest of it's worthless. You just start reeling it back in on the spinnerbait.
I like to rip it out of the water so it's skipping on the surface.
Now the one thing that George does with the top water, and I do in a top water, we'll fish a swing, so it takes a lot longer to reel it 10 feet in, but we'll fish the swing, and we won't necessarily take line in. We'll just fish it on a swing, so we cover more water.
Well, and I like to chase the wind with that too, Mike.
And you can cover more water, and you can get longer casts. But this is what we call the cast and crash right here. So when you're spinnerbait fishing on those real shallow water flats, and this happened to me so many times, you're picking out dark spots as a rock, or you're picking out a little depression where the water kind of goes from a crystal clear color to a little bit of a green tinge to it because it's a little, maybe a foot depth of difference. And I'm casting over to those areas, and you'll see these fish just start the wakes. You'll just start seeing these wakes, they'll start coming at the bait, and it's really, really cool to see that happen. It'll hit the water. They smoke it just before you can turn the handle, 2 or 3 cranks. They smoke it. That's why we call it the cast and crash, Nick. And it's something that's really, really cool. You got to make a lot of cast. You got to cover a lot of water, but it's a really good technique to drift a big, giant flat that's foot of water to 3 foot of water to maybe some spots where there's 4 foot, but it's really, you can see the whole bottom, and you're just going along looking for little differences in that flat, and you're throwing this bait along big time.
So, Nick, there's one other tool on these flats that is absolutely mandatory for both smallmouth and largemouth, but particularly smallmouth, and that's a fluke. I mean, you're going to have your topwater rod, you're going to have your spinnerbait rod, and you're going to have, hold on, you get it?
Oh yeah.
You're going to have either a pearl white or some, version of that, or a bubblegum fluke, weightless, long, super long casts.
Yeah.
And it is so effective.
This is something that you throw
so effective
from here on out till the water temperature drops in the 40s. You're literally going to throw this fluke on shallow rivers, summertime fishing.
It's fantastic. Now, there's a couple different ways to rig it. and there's controversy on that. I mean,
Yeah, there's nose hookers, and
I
then
mean,
there's
basically nose hookers and Texas riggers.
and Texas
That's
riggers.
what I was going to ask you
Yeah.
guys. I know last year when we went out,
Yeah,
that rig was just dynamite.
Money,
This
money.
thing's
And
crazy.
it was very critical that we used the right hook.
Yeah,
We seem to get better hookup ratio.
yeah.
with the
We
right hook.
use George and I. We don't nose hook, and there's a big argument to that. We fish ours. We definitely fish ours a little different than a lot of guys. We don't fish it as fast as some guys do, so the nose hook doesn't work for us, especially in shallow water. We seem to hang up a lot more on it.
Well, and we did, you can go to past episodes here. We actually did a whole freaking show on flukes. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like, Zoom,
that was fun.
Zoom should have like called us up and thank us. But
This thing right here.
the hook we talked about for the Texas rig, which is really technically a Tex posed rig because the hook is laying exposed on the back.
Yeah.
We talked about if you're missing some fish, open that hook up a little bit. The point, open up the point a little bit and offset the point a little bit. Okay. So if you're looking straight down the back of your fluke, you see that point kind of cocked off to the right just a little bit and just up a little bit. And that translates that hookup ratio through the roof. And then, of course, the other technique on that is the nose hook with an octopus hook from, your favorite hook company, or like a wide gap finesse hook in a 2.0 range.
Yeah.
But you need to have, for these flats, you need to be fluking, top watering, and spinner baiting
The heck out of it.
And I've been on a lot of different rivers that were smallmouth, largemouth, what have you.
Yeah.
This plays.
Well, trust me when I say this for you guys that don't fish rivers. There are flats on lakes that have smallmouth in them right now in June and July that the smallmouth will be in 4 to 5 feet of water on big, extensive flats.
Well, it's funny that you say that, Mike, because even if you look at the St. Lawrence,
and
you look at last year's tournaments, you see the Johnson brothers.
Yeah,
they're fishing some of them shallow flats.
Oh, yeah,
huge smallmouth.
Oh yeah, there's not as many.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's not as many, but this is a legit deal. This is an absolute legit deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
And nobody is doing it. There's nobody that you're not gonna compete against people unless they know, And there's the hardcore guys know, but
generally speaking, whenever you're fishing open water, you're fishing for less pressured fish. As fishermen, we like to cast to something. We like to cast to a grass bed. We like to cast to a dock or some type of cover that we can see. And these big giant gravel flats or chunk rock flats, they have cover on them. If you take the time to pull into an area and kind of mosey around with your trolling motor, now keep in mind the current's taking you down the river.
Yeah.
But kind of
slow, real slow.
Kind of look around. You might say, "Hey, what's that over there?" Well, that's a little patch of eelgrass growing on the bottom. Sorry,
Right.
Sorry, Joey Celery. Hey, what's that? Why is there a little swirl over there? Oh, well, there's this really weird square rock.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? There's a fish sitting in front of that square rock, and there's probably one sitting behind that square rock.
Yeah.
And if you don't drive your boat on top of them, you'll probably catch them.
And here's another thing. All rivers have tires in them. And I've caught so many giant fish off of tires, it's unbelievable. So, and you can see those things, they're a good dark spot to throw at.
Dumping grounds.
The thing you don't want to do is get too close to them. You got to make those real long casts. So prepare yourself to lose some fish. Because I don't care, man. Some of them things.
Well, I'll tell you.
They don't have any water to go deep. They go straight out of the water, and they do it many times when it's so much fun.
I'll tell you something about that fluke. That's the fluke I have a love-hate relationship with the fluke. Like my perfect fluke setup for open water is 8-pound fluorocarbon on a spinning rod. I know it's a little light. Trust me.
Straight fluoro?
Straight fluoro. That's my perfect all-time setup. I actually run a 7-foot medium fast old school St. Croix Legend Elite rod. It's dynamite.
What?
But I'll tell you something.
What about our Mega Bass?
Well, it's not the only rod, but it's my favorite rod.
Really?
But I'll tell you something. My point that I want to make here is there's days when, the fish are, I don't know if it's, I think the proper thing here is like, we're reacting to the fluke, but they're not eating the fluke real well. And you lose a lot of fish. You can open your hook, you can offset your hook, you can do whatever you want to do. But on those days, which thankfully are few and far between, I pick up another spinning rod that has braid on it, and I put a leader on it. And now what I've done is I've eliminated a ton of stretch, and I've put a little more zip on that hook set. Keep in mind now, these hooks are a standard EWG, not a super wire. A standard EWG. You might be fishing a Hayabusa that has that nice coating on it. You might be fishing a Gamakatsu, whatever. But keep in mind that it doesn't take a tremendous amount of force to set an open hook. But there's some days, and I'll go to that. And the reason I'm kind of harping on this fluke, guys, spend a lot of time throwing it. I mean,
we throw it some.
When I'm largemouth fishing,
throw a freaking thing all the time.
In rivers in the summer, I throw it a lot. When I'm smallmouth fishing in rivers all over this country in the summer, I throw it a lot. So, you need to take the time to perfect your fluke game.
Yeah, and
right.
Fluke fishing's like number one for me, man. Top water, fluking, top water, spinner bait. Those are my three, but there's another one, and that's the swim bait. And this is a great bait because it's so easy to fish. You just chuck it out and reel it back. My favorite is the Reaction Innovation Little Dipper. They're really hard to get, but we do get a good selection of them in every now and again. This is one of my favorite colors. This is what they call smoke grape. So it's a purplish kind of back with some nice metal flake in there with a pearl belly. The nice thing about these is you can throw them pretty far, and you can reel them and get that nice body movement. Now you're getting just a straight reel, but you're getting that thump and that body movement with these things. Not so much the tail, but the whole body roll is what I'm looking for. Reaction Innovation Little Dipper, to me, thumps and rolls harder than any other swim bait on the market. Now, that's saying a lot.
Yeah, it is.
But I fished a lot of them. I fished a Kitech hard. I fished Strike King. I fished every one you can possibly imagine. And they're all good. They're all good, and they all have their moment. And Kitech's great. I love Kitech.
Oh, yeah.
But when you want summertime action, you want thump, you throw the Little Dipper.
And Mike, how are you rigging that thing?
I fish it on a ball head jig, a SFT big hook ball head jig. I want a 3.0 hook in my swim bait. And I'm fishing the 4-inch. I'm not fishing the big 5-inch skinny dipper. I'm fishing the Little Dipper. This is the perfect bait for that isolated fish that's out there. You can throw it, and that's what he's looking for. He's looking for those river minnows.
It is.
And or those little isolated shad or whatever, a little patch. This is exactly the size of the bait fish that these fish are going after. So do not underestimate the swim jig or the swim bait. You can throw these things all summer long, right alongside the fluke. Like me and George will go out, and I'll be fluking because I'm usually the awesome fluke man, and I can catch them all on the fluke. And George will pick up the swim bait and be firing that thing around until I start catching them, and then he'll switch over to a fluke or vice versa. He'll start catching them and that happens a lot. They just don't want the fluke. It's too much. It's not the right deal, and you got to have somebody throwing this. Now, water clarity has a lot to do with it. What do those fish do when the water changes color? Changing color won't change the fish where they position, other than they'll go to where those edges are and they'll do that. But if the whole river goes to that color but doesn't rise, they'll just still be out in those flats. They just move around a little bit on those flats. But when it rises, they get off those flats, and you have to change your game. So summertime river fishing doesn't necessarily mean this is the only thing in town. Like George said at the beginning of the program, it can change overnight. It can change with a thunderstorm. It can change from water that you don't even know where it rained. It might not have rained in your town for weeks, but it poured like 60 miles upriver, and that water takes a few days, and then all of a sudden you're like, man, I'm getting a 2-foot rise today. Well, that's when you should quit your job if the guy doesn't let you off, and you should go fish that rise, because it's going to be freaking badass, man. It's going to be that rise in the rivers in the summertime is phenomenal.
Are those bass then moving up with that rise?
They move right up with that rise. So this is where knowing your river is really important, knowing where the grass beds are, knowing where that vegetation's growing out of the water when the water's low. You want to go to where that vegetation is, and you want to fish. Those fish pull right up in that vegetation, man. They pull, I mean, right up inside that stuff. We had several trips, many trips, me and George, but one in particular, we were fishing the rise, and and it was just funny because we didn't really know the rise was coming.
Well,
it was weird.
Not to that extent.
It was weird. It just really rose, and these guys started throwing buzz baits over top of that grass because it didn't get dirty yet, but the rise was there. The water started to rise, and his grass bed started going underwater, and him and Corbin started throwing a buzz bait. And it was just great to watch, man. And then the spinner bait kicked in, and we started catching them, reeling the spinner bait through those grass beds. So those fish will move on a rise, but if it just doesn't rise and it gets dirty, they're going to stay right there. They're just going to be harder to catch because you can't see anything.
Before you guys move off that little dipper, there was a question here.
Yeah.
What is your preference on ball head jig weight for little dipper, and does it really matter?
Yeah, it really does matter. It matters a lot. So the big key with the jig weight is when you're in that shallow, super shallow water, you got to get some distance out of it, So if you have good, and what I like to throw it on is 10-pound test braid, because I know I can throw it 100 miles, and a fluorocarbon leader. But instead of going, it's only a foot of water, so a 16th ounce makes sense. I go to an 1/8 or even a 3/16 to get the distance out of it, and I'll make those real super long casts. Because remember, guys, it's the cast and crash. You're only fishing 10 feet of that cast. That's all that matters, is the 10 feet of that cast on those flats. So a lot of that cast, you don't have to reel it back in. So even if you go 3/16, it might be too heavy for the conditions, but it's good for that 10 foot of presentation, right, George?
Yeah, and one of the interesting things I've learned about the swim bait bite in the dog days of summer, and really this holds true everywhere I've fished. When you get a tough bite and you're on those big flats, and you're lucky enough to be on a body of water that has some grass on those flats, and by that I mean submerged vegetation, be it eelgrass, or be it some other form of vegetation. A lot of rivers have eelgrass. Eelgrass and rivers kind of go together.
Yeah.
Like flowing water and eelgrass.
Yeah.
I mean, or celery.
Celery.
Or whatever it's
celery.
Called. Sorry, Joey.
We talked about this last week.
One of the interesting patterns that has helped on those tough days is to rig that swim bait, open hook ball head, and cast across the current and bring that swim bait through and around that grass and pop it through that grass. And you're getting a reaction strike from those fish. They tend to be big fish.
Yep.
And I think the deal there is that those fish take that little patch of eelgrass and they're like, nobody else, this is my spot. This is where I'm doing my hunting.
Yeah.
You all need to go. You need to go over there. And, if they're not reacting to my fluke, and they're obviously not reacting to my top water, my spinner bait, I'm going to resign myself to that swim bait
or the spinner bait.
Right. And I'm good. But the important thing is in these river situations, be mindful of the current, and you need to cast across. Your retrieve has to come across the current, but yet contact that grass, and you're going to pop it free, and they're going to eat it. And it will take a hard day or a hard segment of a day, and it will save you more often than not. Now, not if the river gets dirty and rises. Then we're going to have a lot more fun than we are out there trying to catch a fish in an eelgrass patch on a ball head jig.
So another thing you got to look out for is chunk rock, gravel, grass. ledges. That's the summertime thing you have to pay attention to.
Whoa.
All right. What do you got to say? I mean, I know what I'm going to say.
Shade.
Well, shade too, but
Oh.
my thing, and my thing is, and I do fish shade pattern too, but my thing is, there's always a pattern on any body of water that you fish. And there's always that pattern consists of the type of structure that the fish are feeding on, whether they're moved left or right, whether they're on chunk rock and feeding more on crayfish, or if they're on chunk rock and using that for whatever reason, there's more bait fish in there, or whether it's the shallow water cast and crash technique, which works great, but doesn't always work. It's really volatile.
Well, and it is.
Yeah, it's a very volatile bite. And then there's the eelgrass bite that the fish, are sometimes they're the easier fish to catch. So that's where, you can't be afraid to burn some patterns up. You can't be afraid to try all these different patterns. And knowing your river is the deal. Now, I don't know if you guys alluded to this earlier, and this is so freaking true when it comes to summertime fishing. Horizontal, is that horizontal, George? Side to side?
It sure is there, fella.
Isn't it? Horizontal, side to side, east to west of a river. East to the west. That movement while you're fishing is critical in the summertime, because at certain parts of your river, the eastern side of the river is better than certain types of the river where the western side of the river is better. And then there's certain parts of the river where the center is better. That has to do with a river that usually snakes along and the currents are stronger at certain parts, and where fish are using for a little bit looking for a little bit stronger push of current. That may be on the east side, that may be in the center, or that may be on the west. Always work your east to west angles on your river, and then add in the cover, the ledges, the chunk rock, the grass, and the gravel bars. I've had some frigging awesome days on gravel bars, and I taught this to my brother, and he'll admit it too.
I wouldn't be where I'm at
Super
without that.
shallow gravel bar fishing is freaking awesome, and I've caught giants off of it. And it's something you have to fish, and it's simple to do. The bars are there; they're easy. The river's loaded with river bars.
Well,
and it comes down to reading the river
and
reading the current.
Not only just gravel bars, but also like sandbars.
Yeah,
you get like gravel, sand, not big rock, gravel and sandbars.
And then you know what else is kind of mixed in with that? Usually, some eelgrass.
I love it.
Yeah.
Now, is that celery or is that eelgrass?
Well, I can't get off saying eelgrass. Joey's just going to have to know that when
he has to get over it.
The love for you, Joey, is to know that when we say eelgrass, we really mean.
But I mean, we're trying
celery.
to be scientifically correct here.
There's no scientific answer.
And we need biologists and grassologists and
it's
mixologists
a problem
to come in here.
Because I guarantee you, our listeners right now, 98% of them would call that eelgrass.
I know this guy does.
GDP.
He calls it eelgrass, but
GDP calls it eelgrass.
I watch a lot of Bassmaster Live, and they're calling it eelgrass. And I you know what? I'm gonna bust this wide open. I think they're all wrong. I think it's celery.
I mean, I don't know. That our buddy Joey, who's a plantologist.
He is. He's also an ichthyologist.
Because we have a pattern on the river.
He speaks fluent Greek.
Yeah, we have a pattern on.
What do they call that?
We have a pattern on the river, the Joey Everly pattern, and it's the Patula Negra pattern,
which is Greek for river birch.
Yeah, that's Greek for river. It's a Patula Negra pattern, so we always fish the Patula Negra pattern. But since Greg's on here, Greg, I told everybody you probably wouldn't be on tonight because you're prepping your tackle and your boat for me and George next Wednesday, because we are coming and we're going to shoot some video for that day, and we're going to be catching some giants. So I thought you'd be like really doing your homework and getting things right and signed up right for us, because we are coming.
What body of water are you guys
Whoa,
going?
whoa, whoa! That's not public knowledge.
Oh,
We don't need the paparazzi meeting us at the boat dock.
We have a problem with that anyway.
What state?
We don't know.
Oh,
Well, it could be anywhere's from Colorado to Maine.
it's one of those.
We only
I can
have
tell
one
you, but
day.
then I'd
It
have
might
to
be
kill
Jersey,
you. Ooh,
because of what you did with the.
We only have
the other
one
week.
day. We only have one day.
It
so
may
we-
be Jersey, but we maybe Pennsylvania. He might be coming up for the summer pattern,
nice.
Yeah.
and or he might be going to New York.
No matter what it is, you'll have a good
Freaking
time.
Look at this mess
Skinny
right
Atlas.
here. $20 buy-in. I'll tell you right now, I get my half hour up on the front deck, and for it's $20 on the line.
You want your half hour?
$20.
I only need a half an hour.
That is great.
All right. Well,
Show them Elite Boys how it's done, old school river style.
I'm in for $20, man. You know. Hey, Greg, you don't even have to throw that down, because we are in all the way, all the time. Especially this freaking gambling junkie.
I see some boating going on.
Tell me when to stop, Mr. Diploma. Just pick a spot.
Just pick a spot, right?
All right. Well, we could go on and on and on and on and on and on. We didn't get into so much of what we wanted to talk about, but we never do. We need to move on.
Yeah, I think
Our
we
clocketh runneth overeth.
Yeah, I think we covered everything the way we needed to cover stuff. I just, my big thing with you guys is, there's not going to be a lot of boat traffic where you do this stuff. Everything from that fast ledge fishing, pocket water, to the skinny above the giant waterfall that you're going to die off of. If your trolling motor breaks, fishing in front of that stuff on that flat with the chunk rock, to out in the real super shallow flats with these little sand gravel pockets. And these isolated rock and where there's these giants out there. You got to give it a try. You got to fish it, and then just make sure. Oh, we know it. You know what we never talked about?
A lot of stuff we never talked about.
Well, we got to bring this up real quick.
There's like 5 other things.
Is there?
Yeah, but we're not going to talk about them tonight.
Well, we got to talk about the wacky rig. You got to do the wacky rig on all that stuff. Also on that slow moving water and on those little isolated throwing towards the grass pack pockets and the rocks, isolated rocks and the chunk rock and all that stuff. This is, the wacky rig is that last bait. I think you have to have in your arsenal. So top water, Zoom Super Fluke, swim bait, spinner bait, and now the last thing is that wacky rig Senko, which is so freaking deadly and in super tough conditions in the summertime. Make sure you wacky rig it, and make sure you throw your spinner baits. Make sure you throw your super flukes, which I love doing. I'm a super fluke junkie. And
maybe this is a part 1.
Well, yeah. Because it doesn't end. It really kind of fizzles out there in September. And then a whole nother load of stuff comes on, but that shallow water thing, like George says, Labor Day, is super hot. We always try to have a picnic sometime around there and it's sweating your freaking butt off. And those fish are still super ultra shallow. So we do a lot of it then. And they're really settled in on their deal later in the year in September. So do it at least till mid-September, and then you're released. Okay. We got some great stuff now that we call Tackle Talk. Yeah. This is where everybody drops off, but you know what? A lot of times you're dropping off a little too quickly, because we got some great talk tonight on some tackle.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it short and sweet because we are running long. But we got some key stuff back in stock. And a lot of people have been looking for the Shimano World Minnow and World Divers.
Oh,
Yeah, we got those. You know, they were released last fall, and it
was crazy.
They took the world by storm. We
Yep.
caught a ton of fish on them. Everybody stocked up on them, and you know, they've been waiting for another ship to dock up, and another ship docked up, and they actually found somebody to hire to unload it, and we got a batch of World Minnows and World Divers. We got a lot of them too. So
all right,
we're pretty well stocked.
So here's the deal with that, George. People are going to be crying like a bunch of freaking babies come September and October. Where's the World Minnows? Where's the World Minnows? You know, you know, all right, this is the time when you have them. No, we have them right now. You have to get them now because they're going to be gone again. This is one of them baits, right, George? It's just in and out. You got
stuff.
You got to get it now. We have a lot of them, and you got to get them now. And I'm not saying them to sell them because I don't care.
If you wait,
somebody's going to buy
too
them.
late.
Yeah.
I just don't want to hear it from our customers, the people that listen. We care about you. If you were looking for them last September and October, you need to buy them now and get them now because they're not going to be here in September and October. It's like the stores at the mall. Freaking people are already on winter clothes. Like I was thinking about getting a new bathing suit, because I want the Speedo. And I can't find any Speedos anywhere.
They were sold out of your
size? They're all gone. They're all.
Were they sold out of your size?
Yeah. Double X medium.
You know what they call that, don't you? That's a banana hammock.
Hey, I went looking for them. You can't find it. It's all in the winter. You know what I'm saying? So you got to get it when it's there. And that's the way this stupid fishing industry is right now. They can't keep anything in stock. They can't even. They can't do it right, George.
Yeah, we're making it work,
We are.
We're making it work.
But these manufacturers, you always see, nah, I'm not going to allow it this time.
Yeah.
You can't just go,
You get used to it.
I think it's chicken shit.
You get used to it.
Buying from
from
the manufacturer.
Yeah.
They're chicken shit.
I don't want to try to go down any path like that, but anyways, I mean, it is what it is. We got a ton of freaking product. I mean, we are
off camera. He's like, son of a gun, I don't know what they're doing.
We're jacked up on product.
We got a ton of it.
Not gonna really get into too much tonight because we ran super long.
Go ahead with it, George. We got time.
We got a bunch
7
of
minutes.
Like really funky mega bass in. Some of their special run colors from the last few months. I don't know. We managed to find some more of them. So we have some leftover spawn cherry.
Oh yeah. We got all these over here.
Okay. Leftover. We have a few of the GG Biowagi, and I know my Japanese is spot on. I think Biowagi is I don't know what it is. This is this month's color, but we have a few left.
F.A. Wagasagi.
Yeah, that's some leftover fine art stuff.
But you don't want to talk about it?
Yeah.
Why not?
Because I wanted to talk about the X Nanahan Plus 2.
Oh, okay.
The X Nanahan Plus 2 is an awesome bait for you reservoir guys and lake guys that are hung up on forward facing. Because this bad boy gets down to like 10, 12 feet. And it's a smaller jerk bait to match that early hatch of shad.
Yeah.
That's small in size.
That's bad to the bone.
It's pretty cool. We have a few of those left. And of course, we talked about the Yamamoto Ned Sanko, which is on a salt-free diet. We also are heavily stocked in SLX DCs. Now, I know they've been a problem, but we are loaded up on them. And the last thing I want to mention is the NRX Pluses, which have a cult-like following.
I love them NRX Pluses.
And there's some weird sizes in that rod. There's some 901s, some 902s, some 802s, Cs, some 852Cs, some hard to come by sizes that are standard, like the 852S. we actually have a decent, well, we have a small selection.
Small selection, yeah.
So, anyways,
we got a wide selection, but not a deep selection. It's just they don't give you that many.
You know, we love to talk fishing. We try to sell a few products because we got to pay for all this fun. But we love to talk fishing. We love to talk tournaments. We love to talk techniques. We do get
Got
a
a question here,
long-winded.
George.
You know, we do get a little long, and sorry about that. We're trying to hit a smaller length of show,
Got a question here for
and
you.
it kind of kills us on a few things.
Any word on the magic worm from Missile?
I saw that question, and I was thinking of how to answer it in a politically correct fashion. So I'm gonna do it.
Oh, I didn't know it was
like
so deep.
this.
Why is it so deep?
No.
No?
No word. Any time now. I mean, we're being told literally any time now. I mean, we have our web pages built. We're ready to hit the on switch. We have our space all laid out on the wall with pegs and back tags, and we put a neon sign up. We're going to have somebody in a silver spandex suit out on the street to proclaim the magic worm. We're going to have a full-on barbecue and beer festival with a live band in the backyard. But everything is on hold right now.
Yeah.
Because we don't have an exact date, but it's coming. Now, some of the other stuff might not happen because of timing and logistics. And I mean, Biden just fell off his bike, and I don't know what's going on with that, but we're going to try.
Right on.
Boys,
Yeah.
wrap her up, put a bow on it, and get me home.
Well, we thank everybody again for stopping by here at the tackle shop. Tom Heckman, good to see you stopped in here, man. I know that Speedo thing would scare you to death. Irod, how you doing, bud? Thanks for stopping. Greg Plank, thanks for being here. St. Cress, everybody who's been watching tonight, thank you so much. If I didn't say your name, I really appreciate it. Now, don't forget.
What are we doing next week here, Big Hoss?
We got our show planned for next week.
Tell them about it.
Forget what I wrote down.
I got it. We're going north.
Oh, yeah. We're going to talk
We're going north. We love the North Country. We love the Lake Erie and the Lake Ontario.
That's right.
And the Thousand Islands and the Finger Lakes and all that there wonderful stuff.
Yep.
We're going to talk about going up north.
Yep.
Having a ball, catching a bunch of fish.
Fishing those bodies of water that you're hearing about.
Whoa.
That we got guys coming in here and talking about all the time.
Yeah, and guess what?
Making a trip.
It's going to be a big show.
Yeah.
Might go 4 or 5 hours. I don't know.
Finger Lakes, Thousand Islands, Lake Ontario.
And guess where this guy's going this weekend?
Where are you going?
I'm going to the Thousand Islands.
You are?
Oh, yeah.
What the
So
heck?
let's talk about it all we can.
Absolutely. So that's next week's show. We got that dialed in already. We might, who knows? Who knows how it's going to go, but we're looking forward to that. But don't forget, guys, we have another giveaway, and Nick's going to post that tomorrow or the next day.
Remember, TikTok, YouTube.
You don't have
Facebook,
to. You don't have to do them all,
Instagram.
do you, Nick?
Well, you don't have to, but think about it.
It increases your odds, right?
It's going to increase your odds. You want to comment, you want to like, and if you want even better chance, you want to share. And it's great content. We want to keep making this content for you and get it out there to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. So go ahead and do that. We got another little pack that's going on. This one's going to Joe Cast 12. We got you covered, buddy. We'll get in touch with you, and we'll send it out as soon as we get your address. Until next time, everybody, thanks for stopping by the Tackle Shop, and we will see you next time.
Sunny day, right there you took my breath away. Young and pretty, was it just a dream? The next day you called me up, you told me I'm your little buttercup. You came over and you fell into my arms. Well, I know what I feel. Please tell me your love is real. You make me smile when I think of you. If I am down or when I am blue, I can't get enough. You make me happy, I feel so fine. Oh, how I wish that you were mine. I can't get enough. Oh, please love her. I woke up all soaked in sweat, with chills running down my neck. I'm going crazy from just the thought of you. A long blonde hair and your beautiful smile. Your sense of humor makes it all worthwhile. Don't make me wait, it's not a funny game. You know just what I feel. Please tell me your love is real. You make me smile when I think of you. If I am down or when I am blue, I can't get enough. You make me happy, I feel so fine. Oh, how I wish that you were mine.